Hello, my friends. As I reflect more on our quantum body and the quantum body that we call the universe and how they are correlated, I was also thinking about all the exciting developments that are happening right now in the area of space exploration. So, as you know, there's a lot of talk about aliens right now, unidentified foreign objects, extraterrestrial life, the search for life on other planets, and the very fact that there are 2 trillion galaxies with 706 billion stars, probably uncountable habitable planets based on the Goldilocks zone. And what are the chances of us meeting life which is extraterrestrial? Let's explore this idea a little bit because it could be a game changer for our understanding of who we are, the evolution of consciousness, and the evolution both of what we call outer space and what we call inner space. Outer space, I would say, is intergalactic space, or how we view intergalactic space, which is, space-time geometry, that which we look at through instruments, telescopes, and sophisticated instruments looking for microwave radiation, etc., and cosmic rays, and all the other ways of looking at so-called reality, infrared and ultraviolet and microwaves and radio waves and cosmic rays and X-rays, all that extending our range of experience of the physical so-called outer universe. But that physical outer universe is being looked at by a consciousness that has its own universe of sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, interpretations, conjectures, mathematics, philosophy, and science. The two have to be correlated, otherwise there is a very incomplete understanding of reality. So this biosphere that we're looking for is more than just, the temperature. Yes, a planet has to be within a certain temperature range for life as we know it to exist. And that temperature range is what is usually referred to as the Goldilocks zone. But the amount of ionizing radiation on that planet also has to be conducive to life. The gravitational field, the strength of the gravitational field has to be conducive to life. The atmospheric pressure has to be conducive to life. And then, as you can see, life is not just human life, but life is all life on our planet, from microbes and insects to plants and animals and rodents and reptiles and birds and amphibians and primates and ultimately human beings. And this question that we're addressing is being addressed by a human mind. So even the question, the human mind, we have to know where that thought comes from or where the mind comes from. So a purely physicalist ontology is not going to work. Let's look at the very fact that we, you, who ask the question, are also an activity of the universe. So the question has to be an activity of the universe. It has to be correlated with the activity of the universe. You have to be here on planet Earth with this biosphere correlated with that biosphere to even ask the question. So the gravitational field, the amount of ionizing radiation, the atmospheric pressure, temperature, and innumerable other factors have to be mathematically fine-tuned for me to be right here in front of this computer, or even for this computer to be speaking to you. It's all one correlated activity. The gravity, the radiation, the temperature, the radiation, the life on this planet, and you and me all have to be correlated for even asking this question. That which is asking the question is also an activity of the universe. But I am going to ask you something even deeper to reflect on, and that is the notion that there is no universe, that what we call the universe is a concept, just like mathematics. Everything we talk about is a concept. Temperature, ionizing radiation, gravitational field, force fields, atoms, molecules, all these are concepts. Human constructs. Now, of course, I've been saying this for a while and I get all kinds of feedback, negative and positive, but just ask yourself, how do I know the existence of anything? My body or what we call the universe? And you'll see it's sense perceptions, sensations, images, feelings, thoughts, all correlated. Okay, all coming together as this, that. Everything that you can think of, imagine, conceptualize, see, perceive is all one activity. And it's just an activity of consciousness knowing itself through this alchemy of sensations that I keep talking about. And those sensations are activities of consciousness, in our case, human consciousness. Or actually, there's only one consciousness, but in our case, the human mind, let's say. One consciousness and one infinite being, whatever we want to call it, God, Ein Sof, Allah, Brahman, the mystery. All of that is differentiating into minds and perceptions and sensations and images and feelings and thoughts, the alchemy of which we humans, which is also a concept, call the universe. So, in fact, there is no universe. In fact, everything is a human construct based on how we interpret and give meaning to the alchemy of sensations. So go a little further. Who's the we that is giving meaning to sensations? And is that not also an activity of the universe, if there is a universe? And I'm suggesting to you, there isn't. The meaning given to sensations is an activity of consciousness, which you and I interpret as body, mind, and universe. So it is consciousness that conceives, constructs, governs, gives meaning to, and becomes that which we call the universe. Please give me your objections to this idea. And also your objections to what I posited before, naive realism, as a convenient model, but actually taking us away from the truth. Naive realism based on matter as the ontological primitive, naive realism based on subject-object split, naive realism based on the idea of an observer-independent universe, and naive realism based on the idea that the human experience of the universe, or the human look of the universe, or the human perception of the universe is the universe and is the only universe. Maybe there are infinite universes because the reality that conceives these call it whatever you will, God, Allah, Brahman, Ein Sof, it, the unknown, is giving meaning also. The unknown is not only conceptualizing and conceiving, but as it becomes what we call the universe, it also gives meaning to it. Whatever that is, the unknown. In every second, the unknown is birthing or giving birth to the known. And that unknown is an ever evolving you.